You ever notice how people always tell women, be open, be honest, be transparent? They say it like it's a virtue, like the more you reveal, the more lovable you become. But let me tell you something. The world doesn't reward the woman who exposes everything. It rewards the one who knows what to keep to herself. Because the truth is, power isn't in what you show, it's in what you don't. Now, that might make some people uncomfortable. They'll say, but I thought relationships were built on trust. Sure, trust matters, but so does strategy. You can trust someone and still protect your peace. You can love deeply and still keep parts of yourself sacred. See, we've been conditioned to overshare, to believe that holding something back means you're hiding, deceiving, being too guarded. But here's what most people never tell you: a guarded woman is a wise woman. Because the moment you give someone access to your thoughts, your fears, your plans, you've handed them the keys to your kingdom. Let me ask you, have you ever told someone too much, too soon? Maybe it was your dream, your plan, or your pain, and later that same person used it against you, mocked it, doubted it, or twisted it. That's not coincidence. That's a lesson. A woman must never be an open book for the world to flip through. Not because she's secretive, but because she's selective. She understands that not everyone who wants to know her deserves to. She knows that mystery is not manipulation, it's self-respect. So tonight, we're not talking about games. We're talking about boundaries. We're talking about power. We're talking about the 3 things every woman should always keep hidden. Not to deceive a man, but to define herself. Because when you learn what to protect, you stop chasing validation and start commanding respect. You know, I've spent a lot of time studying human behavior, watching how people interact, what they say, going to, and more importantly, what they don't. And I've realized something: the people who appear to have the most power in any room are rarely the loudest. They're the ones who hold something back, the ones who don't need to tell you everything, the ones who make you wonder, what else are they capable of? That's the power of mystery. But somewhere along the way, women were taught that being mysterious is wrong, that we should be completely open, completely transparent, completely available emotionally, mentally, even digitally. We're told, if you want people to trust you, show them everything, as if vulnerability means volunteering every detail of your life. But let me tell you, transparency without boundaries is self-betrayal. When you give everything away, your thoughts, your feelings, your stories, your insecurities, you leave nothing sacred. You leave nothing for yourself. And when you have nothing sacred, you have nothing strong. Mystery is not deception. It's discernment. It's the ability to know what deserves to be shared and what deserves to be protected. It's understanding that not everyone who's curious about you is entitled to know you. Think about this when you meet someone new, whether it's in love, friendship, or business. Notice how quickly people reveal themselves. Within 5 minutes, you'll hear about their ex, their trauma, their plans, their goals, everything. And you might feel drawn in because it feels intimate. But the truth, when someone gives everything too quickly, it tells you one thing: they need to be seen more than they need to be respected. Respect comes from control. Control of your words. Control of your presence. Control of what people get access to. Mystery commands curiosity, and curiosity creates value. The less people know, the more they want to know. The more they want to know, the more they listen. And let's be clear, I'm not saying to play games or create false walls. I'm saying to protect your truth until it's earned. Because what's earned is respected. What's given away freely is taken for granted. Have you ever noticed how people treat information? When it's easily shared, they forget it. But when it's rare, when it's hard to access, when it comes from someone who doesn't speak often, suddenly it carries weight. You remember their words because they don't waste them. You feel their silence because it's deliberate. A woman who knows the value of her silence can make a room stop moving with just one sentence. But when you overshare, when you explain yourself too much, when you rush to prove your honesty or your intentions, you hand over your leverage. You give away the element of surprise. And surprise is power. We've all met people who seem to know everyone's secrets, yet nobody knows theirs. Those are the ones who hold the upper hand. Because while everyone else is talking, they're listening, they're gathering information, connecting dots, observing human behavior. And by the time they speak, they already understand the whole game. That's what mystery gives you, the chance to read before you reveal. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, too, but isn't honesty the foundation of connection? And you're right, honesty is essential. But honesty doesn't mean exposure. It means integrity. You can be honest without being exposed. You can tell the truth without telling everything. Let's say you're in a relationship. He asks, have you ever been hurt before? You could spend an hour telling stories of every heartbreak you've endured, every betrayal, every scar. Or you could say, yes, I've learned from my past, but I don't live there anymore. Both are true. But one keeps you powerful, and the other keeps you vulnerable. See the difference? One version opens the door for empathy, the other opens the door for exploitation, because not everyone who listens to your pain wants to help you heal. Some want to know where to hit you next time. Mystery is self-protection, and in a world where information is currency, protecting yourself is not cold. It's wise. Let's take another example. Your goals. How often do you see people announce everything they're about to do? I'm starting this new business. I'm launching that project. I'm planning to move here. They tell everyone, expecting support. But the more they talk, the more the energy dissipates. The excitement fades, and suddenly, the dream feels smaller because it's been exposed to too many opinions. Sometimes, silence is sacred because it keeps your energy concentrated. When you guard your intentions, you give them time to grow roots before they face the wind. The strongest women I've met have an aura, and that aura comes from restraint. They could tell you everything, but they choose not to. They smile and let people wonder. They speak less but say more. They're not guarded because they're afraid. They're guarded because they're focused. Mystery doesn't mean you're distant. It means you've learned that the loudest person in the room isn't always the most powerful. Often, she's the most insecure. Power doesn't need to announce itself. It's felt, it's sensed. You ever walk into a room and notice how one person draws attention without saying a word? That's presence. And presence is built through mystery. When people can't immediately figure you out, they pay closer attention. They observe. They lean in. That's the kind of energy that changes dynamics, silently. So if anyone ever tells you that being mysterious is manipulative, remember this. Boundaries feel like rejection to people who want unlimited access to you. But your life isn't a public domain. You don't owe anyone your full download. 2. The next time you're tempted to overshare, pause. Ask yourself, why am I about to say this? Is it necessary? Has this person earned this part of me? If the answer is no, let silence do the talking. Silence never betrays you, because when you speak less, you observe more. When you reveal less, you protect more. And when you protect more, you command more. That's the quiet, invisible power that mystery gives a woman. It doesn't scream. It doesn't beg to be understood. It just is. And everyone around it learns to respect what they can't fully reach. There's a kind of strength that doesn't make noise. It doesn't come from lifting weights or fighting battles. It comes from mastering your emotions. Because let me tell you this truth. The moment someone can control your emotions, they control you. And most people don't even realize they've given that power away until it's too late. We live in a world that glorifies emotional exposure. Everywhere you look, someone's telling you to be vulnerable, to wear your heart on your sleeve, to express everything. And yes, emotion is human. Emotion connects. But when you hand over your emotional core, when you give someone the blueprint to what hurts you, what excites you, what scares you, you're not just sharing, you're surrendering. Think about it like this: your emotions are the command center of your life. They dictate your choices, your energy, your reactions. 2. If someone else can trigger them, then they can manipulate your direction. You become a puppet and your strings are your feelings. A powerful woman knows how to feel deeply, but she also knows how to protect those feelings. She doesn't numb herself, she manages herself. 2. She understands that control is not suppression, it's precision. Have you ever seen someone who just can't hide their emotions? You can read their mood the moment they walk into a room. If they're angry, it's all over their face. If they're hurt, they crumble. If they're happy, they explode with excitement. It's beautiful in theory, but dangerous in reality, because when everyone can read you, everyone can reach you. You have to learn the art of emotional discipline, the ability to stand in chaos and remain calm, to feel the storm without becoming it, to choose your response instead of surrendering to your reaction. That's emotional maturity. That's emotional intelligence. And that's what separates people who lead their lives from those who are led by them. Let's be honest. Emotions are powerful tools. Love can build empires. Anger can break barriers, fear can sharpen your focus, but tools are only as good as the hands that wield them. When you don't know how to hold your emotions, you start cutting yourself with your own blade. A woman who knows her emotions doesn't have to display them. She can be furious and still speak with composure. She can be hurt and still move with grace. She can love without losing herself. That's not being cold. That's being centered. People often mistake emotional control for detachment, but there's a big difference between feeling nothing and choosing not to show everything. When you master your emotions, you become unpredictable, and unpredictability is power, because no one knows what move you'll make next. They can't play games with your reactions if you don't give them any. Here's a truth that might sting a little. Some people don't want to love you. They want to study you. They observe how you react. They learn what gets under your skin, what makes you jealous, what makes you chase. And then they use it. Not because they're evil, but because people test boundaries when they see them wide open. So, stop giving people the instruction manual to your soul. Not everyone deserves to know what makes you tick. Not everyone deserves to see your tears, your temper, or your triggers. Keep your emotions as your internal data. Analyze them, understand them, but don't broadcast them. Because once people know how to move you, they will. When you protect your emotional core, you build resilience. You become someone who can handle anything without breaking. You might bend, you might shake, but you won't fall apart. That kind of emotional stability intimidates people, because they can't figure out what drives you. They can't manipulate you with guilt, or fear, or flattery. They can't play with your heart to control your head. And here's the irony: when you stop over-expressing, when you stop reacting to everything, people start respecting you more. Because mystery creates gravity, and emotional control creates authority. You start to command attention not with your outbursts, but with your calm. Let me tell you a story. There was a woman who was always emotional, passionate, expressive, fiery. Everyone knew what she was thinking and feeling at all times. People loved her energy, until they realized they could use it. When she was angry, they provoked her. When she was sad, they withdrew affection. When she was happy, they flattered her. Slowly, she realized she wasn't living on her own terms. She was living on the emotional leash of others. So she changed. She started listening more than speaking. She started observing instead of reacting. She started processing her feelings privately. Journaling, breathing, praying, walking, too. And then she returned to the world composed. The same fire was still there, but now it burned under control. When people tried to provoke her, they found no reaction. When they tried to guilt her, she stayed calm. When they tried to charm her, she smiled politely but didn't melt. Suddenly, she became unpredictable. And in that unpredictability, she became powerful. That's the woman who can't be broken, not because she's emotionless, but because her emotions belong to her. You want to know why this matters so much? Because the world will test you. It will throw disappointment, betrayal, rejection, and doubt at you. And if every one of those things can shake you emotionally, you'll never have peace. You'll live at the mercy of everything that happens around you, too. But when you master your emotions, the world can throw chaos at your doorstep, and you'll still move with clarity. You'll still make smart decisions. Too, you'll still keep your dignity intact. There's a kind of silence that follows emotional mastery. It's the silence of someone who no longer needs to prove, explain, or defend. That silence is strength. That's what it means to protect your emotional core. So the next time you feel the urge to react, stop. Take a breath. Ask yourself, does this serve me? Does this make me stronger or smaller? When you learn to pause, you learn to choose power over impulse. Don't give people the blueprint to your soul. Let them see your smile, your kindness, your composure. But keep the architecture of your emotions sacred. That's yours. Because when a woman's emotions belong fully to her, she becomes unstoppable. You can't scare her, you can't guilt her, and you can't control her. You can only respect her. And that's the kind of woman you want to be. Not the one who reacts, but the one who responds. Not the one who is rid easily, too, but the one who is studied deeply. Because emotional control isn't the absence of feeling. It's the presence of power. There's something powerful about a woman who moves in silence. You can feel her presence. You can sense her purpose, but you can't quite predict her next step. She doesn't announce her plans to the world, and yet somehow the world always ends up talking about her. That's not coincidence. That's strategy. See, most people think progress means making noise. They believe that if they tell everyone what they're working on, if they constantly broadcast their goals, then they'll stay motivated. They want validation before they've earned results. But the truth? Every time you announce your next move, you give away a little bit of your power. You dilute your energy. You invite opinions, distractions, and doubts into something that still needs protection to grow. Silence isn't weakness. Silence is a weapon, and the people who master it, they move differently. There's an old saying, never let the left hand know what the right hand is doing. That's not about deception. It's about discipline. It's about knowing that not every plan deserves an audience, not every dream deserves applause, not every step needs to be seen. Because when people know your moves, they prepare for them. When they don't, you have the advantage. Think of your goals like seeds. You don't dig them up every day to show people they're growing. You cover them, water them, protect them from harsh elements until the roots are deep enough to survive on their own. That's how your dreams should be treated. Quietly, patiently, strategically, but we live in an era where everyone's addicted to visibility. You see it all the time. I'm starting this business. I'm going to lose this weight. I'm leaving this job. I'm changing my life. Announcements, declarations, hashtags. But if you've noticed, most of those people never follow through. Because they already cashed in on the dopamine rush that comes from attention. They got their reward too early. The applause, the likes, the validation. And once that fades, the drive fades with it. You don't owe anyone a preview of your progress. Let them see the premiere. Let them see the result. Let them wonder how you did it. There's something magnetic about a woman who doesn't explain herself. When people ask, "What are you up to?" and she smiles and says, "You'll see," that's power. Because it's not defiance, it's confidence. She knows where she's going, and she doesn't need to prove it. When you move in silence, you remove interference. You create space for clarity. You protect your mind from noise, your focus from comparison, your energy from unnecessary opinions. Because let's be honest, the moment you tell people your next move, half of them start projecting their fears onto you. Are you sure that'll work? That's risky. What if you fail? And before you know it, their doubts become your hesitation. But when no one knows what you're doing, no one can contaminate your vision. You get to build without interference. People often mistake quietness for inaction. They think if they can't see you hustling, you must not be doing much. Let them think that. Let them underestimate you. Because while they're talking, you're preparing. While they're posting, you're practicing. While they're competing for attention, you're building mastery. Silence is not the absence of action, it's the refinement of it. There's a reason elite performers, top agents, successful entrepreneurs, they all protect their moves. They know that secrecy is leverage. They understand that the more people know, the more pressure you invite. When you move quietly, you move freely. You don't owe explanations. You don't owe justification. You just execute. Think about chess. The best players don't explain every move before they make it. They don't narrate their strategy. They sit, they calculate, and when they strike, it's precise. Every move is intentional. Every piece has purpose. Life is no different. You can't win if you're playing out loud, and this isn't about being paranoid or distrustful. It's about being wise. Because not everyone who smiles at you wants you to win. Some people don't sabotage with action. They sabotage with energy. They plant doubt. They drain enthusiasm. They distract you. And that's why your next move should be sacred. You protect it until it's strong enough to stand. Here's the thing. Silence teaches patience. It teaches you to be okay with not being seen, not being applauded, not being understood. Yet. And that yet is important. Because when your results finally speak, they erase every question. You've probably experienced this before. You tell someone your goal, and instead of support, you get skepticism. Really? You think you can do that? And suddenly, you start doubting yourself. That's why sometimes the best response is no response. You don't argue. You don't defend. You just show up months later with evidence, with success that doesn't need explanation. Silence also protects you from self-sabotage. When you declare everything prematurely, you create unnecessary expectations from others and from yourself. You start performing for perception instead of progress. You stop working for the result and start working for approval. And the moment that approval doesn't come, you lose momentum. But when you keep it quiet, you stay connected to your why. You stay aligned with your purpose, not the applause. You build for you, not for validation. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine a woman training for a marathon. She doesn't post her runs, she doesn't brag about her mileage. She just shows up every morning, laces her shoes, too, and puts in the work. The people around her don't even